So it's going to be slower than everything we have. Even though we're speed tying, kind of, with Fable, what we won't be. And we have to... No, he doesn't switch to Maelstrata. We hit the tail slap. Armoth does not survive this. Armoth goes away. Beautiful. Kiriana, that was beautiful. That would be quite something. Here's Earthquake. Crit? Yes, of course they crit me. So they Sludge Wave again? They get... Another 10% para, which means we can never get multi-scale back.
I need it for Oricorio. So, you know what? I'm gonna stay in Flash Cannon. In Astaplat, I'm so glad I decided to stay in Flash Cannon. Although now I can go Clefable for sure.
Right now, Raiden and Zapdos. Please don't miss a head smash. Please crush this thing. Yes! And it kills it instantly, but we do get staticked. After I Thunderbolt here. Yeah, Thunderbolt, it's fine. I'm not planning on it. So you did. The person who asked me isn't. Yeah. It was worth considering their request. I don't know what. Bonjour. My name is Abomination, and welcome back to the BHDL. This is my season review video, which you'll think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about them in the draft order. So Great Tusk, Tergerdo. It went 12-7. I haven't been looking at these kills this entire season. I didn't even realize he had 12 kills. It's actually pretty impressive. And that's also taking into account that I did not play 2 games. So 2 games weren't counted. Week 5 and Week 7. And in both of those games, Great Tusk did good. Like it had a good matchup. Now, unfortunately, Tergerdo suffered a little bit because of the amount of Ogerpon. Now, I'm going to say that again for one other member of my team when I get down to it. But it is true. The fact that I can't really take a Power Whip from all the Ogerpon except for the Grass type one. I can take a Grass type one because it doesn't have the 1.2 times boost from the mask. But if it's Banded or Life Orb, I cannot take it. I mean, I could if I'm max to max, but that's the biggest thing why Great Tusk suffered. So, overall, I really like Tergerdo. I drafted it a lot now. It is one of my champions. I've won a league with it. But this time, it was not... Even though he got 12 kills, I didn't think that he actually excelled. I don't even realize how he has 12. I didn't realize. But I brought him to 7 games. It wasn't too good on paper for a lot of the teams. There was a lot of things that I felt like hit him very hard. Clefable, Shusanki, was the Pokemon that I brought the most. She showed up to 9 games, went 6 and 7, so -1. Tergerdo was +5. I like Clefable. I think having the presence of Unaware just prevents setup threats, especially from special attackers. Physical guys could still do it, but with my bulky team, just having Unaware as an option is very good. Is very important to be good, and Clefable is good. I don't feel like I could have used Calm Mind, like at least once. I looked at it a few times. Cosmic Power as well. Just didn't do it. But overall, I really like Shusanki. I would and will draft her again. Terragyro as well. I will draft Terragyro again. Remore, Dragonite. Went 5 and 6 -1. I did not get a Dragonite sweep one time this entire season. I really like Dragonite, but there's something wrong with him. There's something about Dragonite that disorients me, I guess. It makes me want to bring the Dragon Dance. Multiscale makes me want to bring Dragon Dance. I think that's kind of afflicting with me, which is not a horrible thing. But his best performance was the week that I did not bring Dragon Dance, and that was in the quarterfinals against Beardo when he had Extreme Speed. That was his best performance, by far. He got 5 kills total, and most of them were in that game. I would draft him again, but I'm still going to have this problem. So, kind of neutral, Dragonite. Heatran, this is the first time I drafted Heatran. For the other 3, I've drafted many times. I've never drafted Heatran until this league. I brought him to 5 games, 3 and 4, -1. He has a Time Sword weakness to ground. Now, it wasn't that big of a deal, in my opinion. I was able to run, like Sugar Berry. I felt fine running Sugar Berry or Air Balloon. I did that half the time. So overall, I really liked Heatran, actually. Even if I took a ground type move, I was actually able to survive it from Latios in week 3. That was probably the best performance for Heatran is in week 3. The Scarf, I liked that a lot. He is kind of prone to being whittled down, and he doesn't have any pivot moves, and no grass coverage. It really kind of sucks. So overall, Heatran is fine. I could draft it again. I'm not its biggest fan, but I did like it. Now, next up we have Jolteon, my first and main Terra Captain. He showed up 7 games. He went 9 and 6 +3. Terra Captain Jolteon, I knew I was going to like it. Vodican, his name is, and Terra Ice with the electric is very strong, as we all know, and the Flame Orb set with Quick Feet means I outspeed everything. Everything. The only thing that could have outsped me, I think, this entire season was Dragapult in week 1, but that situation did not come up. Jolteon was able to outspeed Typhlosion at +1, kill it, was able to outspeed all the Ogerpon that showed up. If it ever got a Trailblaze up, it's going to be faster than it, and take it out. As a revenge killer to Ogerpon with Terra Ice, it was very strong, because Ogerpon was the big thing that held me back, I think, in this league. But Vodican was very good at eliminating it, except for the Wellspring, but Remore was good at getting rid of that. I'm a big fan. I would easily draft Terra Jolteon again. Now, without Terra, I would never draft Jolteon. It needs it, absolutely needs it. It gets no coverage, aside from Alluring Voice. Thank God it gets Alluring Voice and Shadow Ball. But those do not hit the ground type super effectively, and you need to, if you want to do anything. So, I would only draft Vodican again if he's a Terra Captain. Vodican is probably my favorite Pokemon on this team this season. Overall, I prefer a lot of Pokemon over Jolteon itself, but in this season, Vodican was the best. Then we have Suicune, which is... It's not Suicune's fault, but here's what the situation is. Ogerpon eliminates it. That's it. Like, Ogerpon gets Encore, which turns off me setting up at all, and I do not take a Power Whip. Same thing with Great Tusk Terragyro. Suicune brought to 4 games and went 1-3. The only kill it got was when Wellspring switched in the corner finals when it was almost dead, and I finished it off with an air slash. That is the only kill. 4 games is not that much. It just didn't do good. Suicune did not do good. I had to bring defensive items like Rendo Berry and Mental Herb a lot of the times. Leftovers never happened. I was never able to do anything with Suicune. No sweep. Nothing. I had to bring agility a bunch of the time because I would just get Encored. It was just such a difficult thing. I think Encore is a TM in Scarlet and Violet, so in Scarlet and Violet, Suicune is not that good. It can obviously survive hits, but without setting up, it doesn't really hurt that much. 95 special attack is good, but it doesn't have coverage. 95 special attack is not enough to hit, to do good damage when it's not very effective. Or when it's neutral. So Suicune is probably my least favorite member of this entire team. But next we have Vileplume over Trava. Now he did good. I liked it. I only brought him to 3 games, but 1-3. Just having the grounded poison type means your opponent won't use Toxic Spikes on you every single time. Which, it's one of my least favorite moves in the game. Toxic Spikes are annoying. But Vileplume, being a bulky grass and poison type, physically defensive, does good. He was the first guy that impressed me in the entire season. Turn 1 of week 1, survived an Ivy Cudgel from Ogerpon, and hit it with a Sludge Bomb in return, and put it in range of Stealth Rocks to finish it off. That was turn 1. But I brought him more early on, and I did like him. Now, I will say that Venusaur having Earth Power makes it significantly better than Vileplume. Vileplume's benefit over Venusaur is that it has Effect Spore. Venusaur having Earth Power, though, is absolutely amazing, and I like Venusaur more than Vileplume, and I don't think it's that much more expensive. So if I'm ever going to look at the two, I'm definitely picking Venusaur instead, just because it has Earth Power, which is just such a thing. And I think it has Earthquake as well. But aside from that, they learn pretty much the same moves. They both have Chlorophyll, they're both the same type, they're kind of similar stats. But overall it's fine. I probably should have brought him to the semifinals, but hindsight, because I didn't think Palafin was going to be choice banded. The fact that it was choice banded facing Vileplume is still crazy to me, because he would have taken Recoil, potentially Rocky Helmet, plus risk Effect Spore, so it was just such a thing. So that was too bad for me that I didn't bring him, but I liked him overall. Cinccino, Kidionda, and Sakimi, 2 different Cinccino. I only brought Sakimi once, and he died to a Rocky Helmet. Excadrill, they went 5 games, they showed up to 5 games, and went 5-3 at +2. I like Cinccino. I like Cinccino as a Pokemon. Probably better than everything on my team, maybe Great Tusk. Cinccino is just my favorite Pokemon on this team. But Tail Snap, I like Cinccino, but unfortunately the multi-hitting physical contact move is kind of hard to do. Nothing too crazy. I never used Tidy Up, ever. But the big thing that I liked about Cinccino this season is its speed tier. Being faster than Ogerpon is amazing. If it wasn't for Cinccino, I do not think I would make it to playoffs. I feel like there's a few games I would just lose because it's speed tier. Because Ogerpon was able to run Adamant against me, thanks to my speed tiers. But Cinccino was always able to revenge kill it. I never tail slapped an Ogerpon, but I always threatened it out, or had its presence was enough for it. Now initially, when I was drafting, I actually wanted Ambipom in that slot. It was going to be Ambipom. I switched to Cinccino. I like Cinccino way more than Ambipom as a Pokemon, and I do not regret having Cinccino instead. 9 points, could have been a Terra Captain, but it didn't really need to be. It did good enough anyway. And Jolteon is way better as a Terra Captain than Cinccino. So would draft Chino again, absolutely. I would draft Vileplume again, by the way, but if I see Venusaur instead, I'm gonna pick Venusaur, because they're like the same thing, but Venusaur's better. And then Electrike. This thing is actually the bulkiest thing of my team, I think. If you look at damage calculations, with Eviolite, of course. Which is kind of surprising to say because of the amount of bulk that is on my team, but I think Electrike is the bulkiest thing. Maybe Great Tusk is more physically defensive than Electrike, but Electrike still wins the special events there. I showed up to 2 games. It went 0-2. I didn't really expect it to kill anything. In the semifinals, it did absolutely nothing, but it told me what set Palafin was, which is objective number 1, is finding out what the hell is Palafin. So, there's that. And then in week 2, against Pokemaster, it showed up and threatened out a Swampert with Giga Drain. It was a good Swampert switch-in, and just kind of survived a lot in that game. In both games, it didn't really do that well. I still like it. I still think it did enough. It's only, it's very cheap, 2 points or whatever. I think it's better than Swanna. And Swanna's 4 points, but that's whatever. I would draft it again if I had that opportunity, but when I see I have 2 points left or whatever, I usually pick something new. Also, no weaknesses. That's a big thing. On my sheet, looking at all my overall weaknesses, Electrike just adding resistances with having no weaknesses made that look cleaner. And I appreciate it for that, even though it's just 2 points, whatever. Yeah. And then finally, Reuniclus was kind of like the thing that I wanted, that I knew I wanted going into the draft. I brought him only 5 games, brought her only 5 games. She went 4-5 -1. Her biggest performance was week 3 against Ray Ray. She got crit by an Earthquake. I think that was her biggest performance. And then later on, against Notorious HIM, she got crit by a Fire Blast. So, unfortunately, she didn't get to shine. I didn't get to use Reuniclus as much as I would like, and I've decided that I do not like pure Psychic types. It doesn't really matter what it is, I just don't like the type. It doesn't excel offensively, and it doesn't excel defensively. I just kind of think it's just there. So I could draft her again, but I probably won't unless I get motivation again. And then, so my team overall, I think it is an S tier team, and people said that it is the best team in this season, and I'm not going to deny them, because they're kind of right. But at the same time, I do not think it is. I think there are other teams that are better than mine. I think Scorpion's team is better than mine, but there's no denying my team is really good. All my guys are bulky, but they're not bulky enough. if that makes sense. A lot of the times they're still kind of two-shot by some things. They're just barely, and I need to invest a lot of HP and stuff to do that, to survive things. Clefable's a great example, because it's pretty bulky, but it's just barely too frail and too slow to do things. But it makes up for it, obviously, with its amazing coverage, its amazing abilities, and the fact that it's a fairy type. Just slightly too frail. For my taste, anyway. And I know this is crazy because my entire team is bulky as hell. But the fact that I just told you that Electrike is my bulkiest thing kind of proves that. It was the only thing on my team that I felt comfortable handling a Palafin, which is kind of crazy. And obviously it didn't, but I'm telling you that if it wasn't Choice Banded, if it was anything else, Electrike would have been a good switch into it. So, and then obviously, this has been pointed out and noticed, my speed tiers have a problem. I got 130 in Jolteon, Vatican. I got 115 in Kiriana/Saikimi, and then it just drops down to 87 in Great Tusk. If that was 90 something as the next tier, then there would be no problem. But it's just barely too slow for things that are slower. Ogerpon, This is the big one. It's coming up again because it's 110 speed and it can run Adamant. Because Adamant just barely outspeeds. So 110 to 114 can run Adamant because they outspeed Great Tusk. And that was a big thing. I know it's not that big of a deal because it's just one Pokemon, but there's 5 of them. Or sorry, there's 4 of them. But they were everywhere. They were everywhere. They showed up to almost half my games, and every time they can run Adamant. Anna, she brought an Adamant one, and because it was Adamant, she should have probably killed my Vileplume in 1 hit. That was just bad luck. And because it was Adamant, I know there was a damage roll. I forget what it was. Max HP, that's what it was. Max HP, max defense, Clefable, can tank a Power Whip if it's not Adamant. Take 2 power-ups, sorry, if it's not Adamant. But if it is Adamant, it does 2-shot me 100% of the time. That was the kind of the big thing as well that I noticed. Very unfortunate for me. And Ivy Cudgel as well could 2-shot me if it was Adamant. That was kind of the big thing. And then the other thing that I didn't like about this team, and nobody really actually noticed this, or rather said this, I did not like... I kind of had a lack. I absolutely had a lack of pivoting in this team. If you look at it, Great Tusk cannot pivot. Clefable can pivot with Baton Pass, but it is Baton Pass, so it's just... Its only purpose is to pivot, and it doesn't do any damage or say anything. Dragonite cannot pivot. Heatran cannot pivot. Jolteon can pivot with Volt Switch, which is good. Suicune cannot pivot. Vileplume cannot pivot. Chinchino can pivot, U-turn. Electrike can pivot with U-turn or Volt Switch, and then Reuniclus cannot pivot. So, if I wanted a slow U-turn with my bulky guys, I would have to either bring Electrike or Baton Pass Clefable. Those are my only 2 options. My other option, the benefit was, and thank God for Eject Pack, because Great Tusk can use Close Combat to hit a Long Rush, Eject Back out, and my stats are lowered. Dragonite, Draco Meteor, same thing. Heatran, Overheat, same thing. Vileplume can Leaf Storm, same thing. I almost brought an Eject Pack Leaf Storm Vileplume against Scorpion in semifinals. And then Reuniclus can Hammer Arm Eject Pack, which I did do that once. That was my option. Very lack of pivoting with my bulky threats. I feel like that if I could have pivoted, I would have done so much better, but the fact that I had to either take an item or bring Baton Pass, which Clefable is giant. It has so much coverage that you just don't want Baton Pass. What you want is Moonblast, Moonlight, a coverage move that hits the things that take a Moonblast, and then you want like Stealth Rock or Calm Mind or something like that. You could run Baton Pass as last thing, but then you can't set up, you can't do anything, you can just pivot. So I felt like that was a big thing. I actually kind of felt like that was more important than the speed tiers. The speed tiers didn't bother me that much. The only thing that really bothered me with them is the fact that Ogerpon could run Adamant. That's it. That was literally the only thing. But the pivoting was, I think, the crucial problem with my team. I couldn't pivot. The priority didn't bother me that much. I have 3 priority things, but 2 of them are kind of whatever. Quick Attack Jolteon, I did bring it in week 1, but it didn't do anything, and it's not exactly the best thing in the world. Extreme Speed, Suicune, again, not the best thing in the world. It's not horrible, but it is not that good. It could work with like Weakness Policy Suicune, which I never tried. And then Extreme Speed Dragonite, which is the big one, which is the main one, the one everyone's going to look at, the one you should fear. And that only worked. I brought it once. I brought it twice. Quarterfinals and semifinals, Extreme Speed proved itself in both of those games. So if I ever draft Dragonite again, I'll probably use Extreme Speed more often. Priority didn't bother me that much. What bothered me was pivoting and just being slightly not bulky enough, which is crazy because I think my team is the bulkiest in the league. Just a little bit more bulk, like something like a Toxapex or a Blissey, just to make sure that I turn something off. Just, no, you don't get to do this. I stand in your way. You can't hurt me. Something like that. I guess I'll say what I did like about it. Jolteon was amazing. I like having Great Tusk. My hazard removal was Great Tusk or Tidy Up. Not amazing. I would like to have something other than that, but in Scarlet and Violet, it's a little bit hard to do. Yeah. I like everything that was on my team. I went over each of the guys, and I would draft everything on this team again, given the chance. Things more than others, but that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching and listening, and thank you for having me in the BHDL Season 4. This is my second favorite league now. I think it's great. I think everyone here I like. Everyone is nice. The community is strong the entire season. It doesn't die off after the draft ends, which I see that a lot. I've made a lot of new friends here. A lot of funny things happened. I've watched not quite all the battles, but almost every single one of the battles that happened. And I'll be ready for Season 5. If they let me back in, then I absolutely will sign up for it. And I've already looked at the draft roster and a few things that I'm interested in. Specifically what dragon I want that I've never drafted before. There's a little thing there, so that's going to be the main thing that I'm excited for. Thanks for having me, if any of you BHDL people are watching this, and I'll see you for the next one. Smell you later.